Want to 10x your growth? Discover how only 3 growth hacks in 10 days can change everything. Welcome to the 10-Day Growth Hacking Challenge with your host, Nader Sabri. Today, we are here with Shamimi Chowdhury, and he is in a very unique space where he's combining mindful entrepreneurship and training people, especially those who have recently become what we would call involuntary entrepreneurship. We're going to talk about that in a minute. Before we jump into that, if you want more information about Shamimi and what he does, go below. If you want to understand his story in a little bit more depth, go to the kickoff video before that. For those of you tuning in who want to do what we do here, this is based on the growth thinking design methodology. This is your tool right here to do what we are doing. And we're going to get kick started. Shamimi, how are you doing? Welcome to hack number 1, man.
I'm good, thank you.
Yeah,
it's always a pleasure to be here.
It's a pleasure having you, man. We've had such a rich conversation. I wish more of it was on video, but it's all good, man. So let's give a bit of background to some of the discoveries we've had, and then we'll dig into the hack. The first thing is, in the kickoff video, we had a very interesting discovery in the sense of Shamim's story, and he represents millions and millions of people. I've been there. Many of us have been there, where we're in an employment situation, and then we kind of shift and we become unemployed, and then we enter entrepreneurship. And so working with entrepreneurs for many, many years, I identify entrepreneurs in 2 buckets. There's the voluntary and non-voluntary entrepreneur. The voluntary entrepreneur is somebody who is consciously and has consciously entered entrepreneurship and is developing what they're doing. Involuntary entrepreneurship are those who become redundant, for example, or have fallen in a scenario where entrepreneurship happens to be the only or one of the very few potent options in front of them. And so Shamimi is tackling this niche, very potent, very relevant, and very in context today. On top of that, he's got a very interesting secret in the corner of this thing. It's about mindfulness and helping entrepreneurs from a mindset and a psychological perspective on how to deal with the challenges and difficulty of entrepreneurship. We ran a few quick experiments before we got on. I'm not going to talk about that now. I'm going to let Shamimi take over. Shamimi, tell us about what happened in Hack 1. What did you discover? Outcomes, results. Go for it.
Okay, so I guess the best thing to do is to start off with my story. So with my story, I've considered me as person A. And person A went through a journey of corporate ladder for 15 years and always knew that there was something else that he needed to do to create impact. And it was through the, as you call it, the involuntary event, which I was laid off. Now, for me, I took that as a blessing. I immediately took that as a blessing.
Yes.
And I think that's very, very key to what happens after that, is that once I took it as a blessing, I was able to feel the freedom to think, not just the freedom to do what I want, but the freedom to just think about what it is where I can create impact. And this is where the mindful entrepreneur came from, because with me and my business partner today, we've been focusing on the real need of what we call entrepreneurs. These are individuals that want to go into entrepreneurship, but either don't have the courage or the right mindset. And that's where we came up with the idea of the Mindful Entrepreneur Program.
Yep. I love it, man. I love it. I like what you said about the blessing and the freedom to think. And I think so many people fall. I think, again, you're in a very special spot to help people to see that and realize that hey, something has happened, but there's some good that's coming out of this, and let me help you with that. And I think that is the secret sauce from where we started in the very beginning in this process to where we are today. That definitive target right there is going to blow everything out of the water for you in the sense of success. And getting honed into the psychological mindset, the very specific challenges, like things like I was so good working within a corporation where there was structure and resources to like I don't know if I can make it because I don't have the structure, I don't have the assistance, I don't have the resources. And so the reality is that that's not true. Actually, it's a completely different scenario. And you helping people through that, okay, is going to be huge, especially in today's world. So I think setting the context for this story and the narrative of what we're doing is very powerful. Tell us about hack number one. What happened and where did it take you? And what it is, of course. Let's explain what hack number one is and what happened.
So with hack number one, it was all about being able to create engagement, right? To get people to adopt the idea that they need the course of the mindful entrepreneur program. Now, with that, we created a number of videos to help create that awareness, right? For people to understand, what it is, what actual mindset do you need to have when you're trying to be an entrepreneur before you even start thinking about what idea you want to pursue. Are you the type of person that is going to be asking the right questions, right? Or are you going to be closed up inside and say, I'm just going to figure it out for myself? Are you the type of person who's going to be comfortable with failure, or are you just going to be the one who hesitates and just procrastinates to the point where you don't actually validate any of the assumptions that you've made? And that's the thing about startups, is that I don't care what anyone says about their startups. If you're in the idea stage or in the launch stage, your startup is not really a startup, it's an experiment, right? You've made assumptions, right? And these assumptions haven't been validated yet. You believe it's true, but you haven't proven it's true. And that's why it's important that you have the right mindset that goes through that point of failure and tweaking or pivoting your idea to the point where you've hit that spot, you've nailed it.
Yep.
So yeah.
Completely aligned. I mean, that's what this challenge is about. It's about celebrating failure and harnessing it for true success. And that's what this is about, because growth is all about finding the unknown areas, as we've discussed before. And I agree with you. I mean, I think giving that kind of training to help people who've just become entrepreneurs or about to become entrepreneurs, super, super, super valuable. All right. So what was hack number one? Let's define what hack number one was. What happened with it? What were the results when you undertook it?
So the hack number one was about creating awareness, right? Creating engagement for the Mindful Entrepreneur Program. And so what we did was we created a set videos to help create that awareness that will also help promote them and make them understand that they need real workshops to really break down those limiting beliefs and actually, create that transformation mentally before moving on to the idea.
Fantastic. So this is basically, I mean, the core content that defines everything that's about to come, if I'm correct. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, so you've created
Absolutely.
all that, and if I understand correctly, you've created it. Now it's just about editing and getting it out there, correct?
Yes.
Awesome. So we ran another experiment, validating this. Explain to what's happened with kind of the two avenues that you took for experimenting for the validation of this, and what was the outcome for us?
So there are tools out there in the market which helps you to test certain keywords to see if they resonate in what's on the internet, essentially, what's there. And when we tested it, we got literally 0 results, right? It was like as if it was non-existent, and which, obviously rang alarm bells and thinking, is this something that is needed, right? Or is it something that is just yet to be tapped into? That was the question. And so what we also did was that we decided to, as we're based in Hub 71 in ADGM, there are a number of startups there. We had a number of conversations with all the startups in that vicinity, including the community management of Hub 71. And we validated that this is something that is needed, right? And the reason why it's something needed is that it's an area that people don't normally admit to that they need, but they do need it,
They're not conscious of it. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
So we have, so just we'll step back a bit so everyone understands the situation. We have two completely contrasting forms of data. One is formal data that we've taken quantitatively using Answer the Public. I don't know if anyone's ever used that tool, but it's one of the tools we use in growth hacking to understand basically the web of topics that are related to a single idea. So when we looked at mindful entrepreneurship, we didn't find anything, which we were shocked. I went and did a search as well, which I mean, because I was like, there's got to be something about this because it can't be that new, but there was nothing, or very little anyways. But what Shamim skillfully did is he went to get actual physical validation, sitting down, talking to people, interviewing, especially in an environment where something like this is very potent, and he got all the signals. So he got positive signals on one side, negative signals on the other side. So what would the interpretation of something like this be? Ultimately, is that if there is a need for this, which I genuinely believe there is, and the validation shows that, but there's not much out there, there's a few challenges. Number one is that if people are not looking for it, that means you have to educate a market for it. And it's not because they don't need it. They're not looking for it because they're not aware it exists, or they may not be, as you mentioned, they're not rectifying it, right? I think that's the easiest way to put it. So therefore, you're going to have to educate a new market, and educating a new market is costly, and it takes time and a lot of effort. Now, that's not a wrong thing. It's not a bad thing, and it is a challenging thing. So what that does is it sets a platform for us as we growth hack moving forward, knowing that educating people about what this is about is going to be core to making this work, rather than it being delivering the content itself. And one of the things we're talking about is not just taking the content that you've created now, that'll be, I guess, in the next hack, which is putting it out there, but testing the format in social media and getting direct, immediate feedback. The world today consumes content in micro components. And so delivering large 1 hour, 2 hour workshops it doesn't work anymore like it used to. It's not that people don't do it, they do, but it's just not like before. You want to be able to deliver messages in high impact within 15 seconds, 30 seconds, 1 minute, and up to 3 minutes maximum, depending on the formats of the different platforms. And that's your next challenge, Shamim, isn't it?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'm ready for the challenge.
Yeah. No, listen, I mean, I'm very happy with what's happened because we see two contrasting things that are actually very positive, and it's given us direction. From when we started from this challenge, you are much more definitive on the target. We're super clear about it. It's crystal clear as day. We've gotten two forms of testing that give completely opposite information. So it gives us a much more richer, thicker story, understanding it. It's not out there, we need to educate, but there's a demand for it because people need it. That's what I see, man. What do you think? I mean, am I not seeing it right? Give me your feedback. What do you think? What do you see? I mean, this is all about you, not about me.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, being an ed tech company, this is where we have to focus on, is building that education. And education is twofold. One is delivering the actual content and actually bringing awareness, right? And so with that, that is going to be our goal. That's what we're going to be focusing on. How we're going to do it, there's going to be, all sorts of ways we can do it. There's plenty of, strategies that people use at the moment. People have been using TikTok. People have been using, all sorts of Facebook videos and videos on LinkedIn, presentations on LinkedIn. And, we're going to keep doing that. And what we're also going to be doing is we're going to be sharing real stories, right? Stories from entrepreneurs that are that are working, grinding today, so that they can share what mindset challenges they've suffered in the past and what they've learned from it.
I think that's really cool. I think like live, real stuff from the ground, like a reality show, is always more important. Just like what we do here in the challenge, it's all real time, real stuff, no fabricated stuff. I think this is going to be very potent in the sense of like creating really impactful and authentic content. Especially do not underestimate TikTok. Like and I mentioned this in a very interesting way. I tell all contenders, never become just one platform dependent or focused. So don't just do TikTok, you should do all of them. And that may sound like, whoa, dude, that's like we're shooting everywhere. But in reality, with the way that algorithms and how dynamic things are, you should be everywhere at all times possible, because that increases your probability and chances of actually getting traction. That may sound counterintuitive for a lot of people who've been reading about growth hacking, but for those who are very very deep in the know. It's a whole different story. We'll talk about that another time. All I can tell you is just focus on all the platforms and keep it as frequent as possible. I guess you're ready to start on that, aren't you now, for hack number 2?
Yes, I'm barely starting.
I can feel your energy, man. I can feel you. I feel excited for you at the moment. I was like, I want to start producing right now. Let's get this out because we want to see how people respond to this. Ladies and gentlemen, that's what we're up to today. Anything else you want to share on hack number 1 before we move on?
I think I'm just grateful for your guidance, really.
Thank you.
Just working with you really opened up my mind to all the possibilities and how to validate my ideas. So thank you.
Oh, you're most welcome. And you will shine, believe me. Just keep going down this path. We're going to use these 10 days as effectively as possible to make this thing happen. So that is awesome. For those that want to know more about Shamimi, go below. You can connect with him directly by clicking there. You want to know a little bit more about his story and his narrative, go back to the kickoff video to learn a little bit more about his background. We're here on hack number 1, moving to hack number 2. Before we tune out those who want to do what we do here in the challenge, it is based on the growth thinking design methodology. Want to do what we were doing, this is your tool. Shamim, awesome. I'll see you in hack number 2, my friend.